Well, 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 it's yet another day when we cook to serve. And in Cook to Serve, we nourish not only the soul, but also the stomach. And we are in Dr. George's kitchen.
Karibu sana.
Asante sana. One thing I can tell you is that I'm truly blessed and honored to be in Dr. George's kitchen. Every time you see me, I'm learning, I'm engaging, I'm growing, and also I'm going to be fed. Men are confirming that we can multitask. And in today's edition, we'll also confirm that we can multitask in the kitchen. And George, today,
Yes.
we'll talk about a very interesting phenomena. We want to demystify the dry spell.
Yes.
Touch on it. Why is it important? What is it?
Yeah, so Edmund, thank you. In our Christian walk, and this is important for all of us as Christians to understand that our Christian walk is a journey. And in this journey, there are various levels that we go through. And one of the levels that we go through is when we get born again. We get filled with joy, the joy of salvation, the assurance of salvation. We are fire breathing, we are demon chasing, we are actually on fire for God, you know. You just like Caleb, we say, give me this mountain. You want to conquer the mountain. And as we move on, that energy continues to build up, and then we reach a point where now we feel like it's status quo. You know, you feel like the energy is kind of dissipated. That cup that was full is now becoming dry. You now have a season that you feel like God is not holding your hand again. You are experiencing a dry spell. That's the time reading the Word of God becomes a struggle. When you start to read, you get easily distracted, or you read and you don't understand a thing, or you can only read like 2 paragraphs and you're like, no, it's not worth it. When prayer becomes a struggle, you know, when you pray, you feel like your prayer hasn't gone past the ceiling. You feel like you're praying and it's dropping down. It's not going up. Because whatever you're praying for is not getting answered immediately like it used to happen, you know. Whatever you are seeking God for is not coming, that answer is not coming like it used to be, you know. And even going for fellowship, you're like, you now make it a routine. You're going to church. Yeah, it's Thursday prayer service. You're there at the prayer service. But that joy of, I am going to meet the Lord in the prayer service. I am going to have a moment of my life connecting with God and enjoying the prayer, you know. You're speaking in tongues spontaneously. You're just worshiping spontaneous. Everything, you know, you don't even think about kneeling down. It just comes spontaneously.
Right.
But during the dry spell, sometimes you even look at your suit and you're like, should I kneel down with this suit? It's a moment that all Christians experience in their lives. And if you talk to even the most established, the people that we look up to, even if you could have a conversation with senior pastor, they will tell you that there is a moment in life that we experience that dry spell.
And it's interesting you mentioned this, because one may ask, or can we therefore conclude that nobody is immune, as it were, to those moments and seasons of dry spells?
Yes. It comes at different time points, but we experience it, all of us, in our Christian journey.
It is something that can happen, so one should not feel that it is happening and now I need to just get out and vanish. I don't qualify. It's not, you know.
Yeah, it's not like, you should not feel like something strange is happening to you. This is part of the normal journey in our Christian walk. And at that point, you may feel like you're fatigued,
Mm-hmm.
You may feel like you're discouraged.
Mm-hmm.
You may feel like you're disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like because you're waiting on God and your prayers are not getting answered, you have a feeling of disappointment. And sometimes some people, that's the point that now they turn back.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're like, God was with me. God spoke to me. I heard him.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I heard him, when he spoke to me, he said, this is what's going to happen. But now it's not happening. There's kind of a lag. And at that point, some people get discouraged and they want to give up.
And there's a danger
Yes.
of even backsliding and
Yes.
just staying under the radar and you remain out there.
Yeah, it's like throwing
Which will
up your
give
hands.
victory to the evil one, which
Yes.
we must not allow to happen.
Yes.
And we are cooked to serve
Mhm.
with the kitchen of Dr. George.
Yes.
So, Dr. George, what do we have in front of us here? What are we cooking today?
So coupled with that theme of dry spell, I want us to remember that even during that dry spell, we are still Christians.
Yes.
And we are still born again, and God still loves us. In fact, what happens is God's hand is holding us. It's only that we're not feeling it, and we're not actually feeling like He is there. But His hand, He has never left us, not forsaken us. He is always with us. And so today, we're going to cook dry fish, the one that we call obambla.
Obambla. All right.
Yeah,
Yes.
so it's so this is dry fish. So the way it was made is there was the fresh fish,
Yes.
and then it was scaled, washed, and then cut open,
Yes.
salted, and then sun dried.
Sun dried.
Dried, yes.
Naturally
Yes.
sun dried.
Yes.
Okay.
So that takes several days, and it has to be done meticulously, and then this one can stay for a very long time.
Right.
It can be preserved for a very long time. And it's still fish, you
Yes.
know, it's still fish. It's only that it's dry fish. And also in our Christian life, when we go through that dry spell, we're still Christians.
Yes,
We're
we
only
are.
going through a dry spell. And a dry spell can be short, a dry spell can be long.
And the intensities are
Can
different.
also vary.
Vary.
Yes. So you can have a long dry spell. You can have a short dry spell. And so you need to understand, just like the dry fish can stay for much longer, it depends on the time it takes to heat the sufuria.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the only difference.
Okay.
And so today we the procedure for preparing the dry fish is basically the same. The beauty with so there are two things with dry fish. So dry fish, the flesh is when you dry it, the flesh is actually, it gets a bit stuck to the to the bone, and so you cook it slightly longer.
Yes.
But the beauty with it is it makes excellent soup.
Wow.
Yeah, the
Right.
soup is very nice. So we'll have, in terms of our ingredients, we'll use the usual ingredients.
Yes.
We have our onions, we have our tomatoes, we have our royco, we have our garlic, and corianders, and white pepper, just a bit. Then have a bit of ginger, garlic powder, paprika, and turmeric.
You know, speaking of pepper,
Yes.
there is this someone shared the other day, a visual of a character whose colleagues were very upset with him
Yeah.
because what he did, when they grouped and ordered, this is pre-corona,
Yes.
so he whispered to the waiter and said, ongeza pilipili mingi. So when the food was brought,
Yeah.
he's the only one who could eat, yet he's not the one who's paying for it. So white pepper, let's be cautious about it.
Yet he's the one who was invited.
Okay. Okay, take us home with what we have and the preparation of the cooking.
Yeah, so now we can go to our usual. Remember, the size of your saucepan depends on what you're cooking.
What you're cooking, yes.
Yeah.
And just like always, in terms of the spices that we have,
Yes.
it is advisable to mix it separate from their individual containers so that
Yes.
you can get a sense of the levels, the quantities, and with time,
Yeah.
you evolve your own preferences so that one does not overwhelm
Yes.
the other.
So that you don't have one spice tasting more in your food.
Right.
You just want everything to be at average. And so we just take small quantities of each
Yes.
and you mix it together in the container. And as I told you before, my preference is usually the top of the Royco, so that you don't overspice and you don't use much. But there are people who prefer certain spices they prefer to use more of certain spices.
So that preference is theirs.
Yeah.
Okay.
But this comes over time as you mix, so that you have a taste of, you just have a beautiful taste of all the spices together.
Wonderful.
Rather than feeling one. And as usual, our vegetable
oil.
Yeah.
With minimal, if none, in terms of cholesterol.
Yes. So that we can then be able to do our onions and our tomatoes.
Yes.
So just let it warm up a bit.
And as it is, because one could ask, we seem to be revolving around fish, water. Will we get out of fishland one of these days?
Of course, we're going to, you know, there are, as you said, there are 50 references in the Bible.
At least, in fact,
at least 50
as per the last
references
count,
in the Bible of fish.
There
are many, we're not even halfway through the fish.
Wow.
However, we don't want to be too fishy.
Yes.
We will change.
All
so what we're going to do is next time we will go green.
Green. Yes. Okay.
We will go green, and so we will do sukuma wiki. So we have 5 styles of doing sukuma wiki.
Wow. 5.
So just the way the fish has been here, sukuma is going to be there.
Coming. Yes.
Because the week has 7 days.
Right.
But we will sukuma it for 5 days. Then we can rewind the first one.
Okay.
Yeah. They have actually started to devolve. So now we can bring in
Bring them together.
Yeah. And then now,
next is
in
the
preparation
tomatoes.
to receive the tomatoes.
Yes.
And then the bonding process starts.
Yes.
It's very interesting the way in our Christian walk we go through the dry spell season. You see, the power of us sharing together is there are people who are there first. And so when you get to that point that you are experiencing that, so as a new believer or as a believer, you need to be open to the person who is discipling you.
Yes.
And when you're feeling low at those low moments, open up your heart and tell them, I am actually having a low moment.
So in fact, we're about to get in that phase where one would ask, what happens during this dry spell? What happens during this dry spell? For example, does one feel discouraged?
So during the dry spell period, you actually feel discouraged. Because it happens, the way it happens is that you are at your best, you're at your peak. And then all of a sudden you start feeling like things are slowing down. And so that actually brings discouragement. And some people can be so discouraged that they even tend to stop to pray.
Oh.
Yeah. And they say, let me just sleep. God understands. Let me just sleep. And if you continue to sleep without praying, then prayer starts to slip out. And you see, the other point is they get discouraged because they are praying and they're not seeing their prayer being answered. You get? So they're also becoming impatient.
Yeah.
They're becoming impatient with God. And during that period, it's very easy for you to feel disappointed at God, And at Christian walk, you're like, but I thought this was things were hunky-dory, things were just moving forward.
So disappointment.
Nice and sundry, you know. But now what's going on? You see? So you feel that disappointment. Your prayers are not being answered. You're struggling to read the scriptures. You're losing that flavor of fellowship, you know. And generally you feel a bit low in your spirit, yeah. But the other thing that happens is, for some people, it's an opportunity to give up.
So they may just give up.
Yeah.
And just
They'll be
lose
like,
the fight and just give up and say,
yeah,
this is not for me.
yeah. They throw in the towel. That's why they sing. There's a singer who sang and said, God is able to do much more than you can think or imagine.
Yeah.
He is able. Don't throw in the towel. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
No, don't throw in the towel. Because during that time, it's very easy to feel discouraged, disappointed, and you're almost resigning to it.
And you see, this presumes the one who is undergoing the dry spell.
Yes.
Do they know themselves all the time that they're actually going through that dry spell? Is
No.
it possible that it can happen to you, or you're going through it, and you're not so conscious about it? What about the others? Do they have a responsibility in terms of the discipler?
Yes. So
They may also feel disappointed in you. Is that possible?
yes, yes. During the dry spell, that's a time you're struggling with many things, and you, as a person, you're feeling. You have that feeling, and sometimes you may not even know that that's your dry spell. You get. You may not understand that that's your dry spell, but if you are in fellowship and you're sharing, and you share with someone, and you tell them, you know what, I am not feeling the joy of faith anymore. And you know, sometimes we may go through dry spell because of sin, but it's not always. So then we add the water. It's not always that we go through dry spell because of sin. No. It's just a stage that happens in our Christian walk, that we go through that dry spell and we get discouraged and we feel like that joy is seeping off.
Just dissipating.
Yeah.
And this can happen to any. So even the strong, beware, even the strong,
Yes.
even the very, very strong Christians,
Yes.
it can happen to you as
Yes.
much as it can to the fresh believer.
Yes.
And those who have been in it for a long time, for a short time, even those who are serving in church,
Yes.
it can happen to you.
And the other thing that is important for us to remember, that it is not a one-time occurrence.
No. So you don't have it, it's not a vaccine, you go through it and it can't happen to you again.
You don't develop immunity against it.
It can happen
It can
severally
happen, at several time points in your
in a
whole
Christian walk.
Christian walk. Yeah.
Key to this fundamental: when you feel alone, you are never alone. You've never been alone, because
Yes.
Christ is there with you.
Yes. In fact, God is actually holding you. It's only that you're not feeling it. But He has never left you nor forsaken you. He may be silent, but He may just be walking with you in silence.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
We need to add salt, and then we dip our fish, the dry fish.
Yes.
The obam.
And the salt you put, how do you measure? Because there are those who, by default, when the food comes to the table, before they've tested, they've already added salt.
It's a very bad practice. That's a very bad practice. So,
Yes.
so as a doctor, I would discourage that. Don't add table added salt. You're setting up yourself for hypertension. Salt should be cooked. You know what I'll do to that? So then you dip your dry fish.
Yes.
To be very nice. You dip in your dry fish. You start with the pieces that don't need trimming, depending on the size of your saucepan.
Yes.
Oh, so you notice today we did not use milk.
You need to use coconut milk.
Or coconut milk, but this is just it's just a preference. But you can still do
If one
coconut
wanted,
milk.
you'd still do it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You could still do the fresh milk.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I love, that my grandma usually do, is add sour milk.
Ah, mala.
Not mala.
Uh-huh.
The one that is from the gourd.
Oh, right.
It's like mursik kinda, but it's not really mursik.
Mm-hmm.
But it's sour. There's a way they make it so that it's sour milk. So add a bit more of that water.
And as that's preparing, I'd like us to get into, we've looked at what is a dry spell.
Yes.
We've also looked at the symptoms of what it is that happens during the dry spell. I'd like to just touch on now what needs to be done.
Okay, just before I answer that, what needs to be done,
Yes.
there's a question you asked me, how do you know the amount of salt?
Yes.
So the best practice is to take a pinch.
A
Just
pinch.
take a pinch
Mm-hmm.
and put. You will never go wrong.
A pinch.
Yes.
A pinch.
Just grab a pinch. Just open yourself in your hands and grab a
and
pinch.
pinch.
Then
That should suffice.
it will suffice.
Okay.
It will always be on point.
Yes.
And how do I know that? When I cook, no one has ever asked me for salt.
All right. Yes. Yes. And you're a doctor, so you don't become like the mechanic who
Yes.
doesn't fix the car so that you're guaranteed patients,
Yeah.
customers.
I'm a
So
Christian
a
doctor,
pinch,
so- Yes.
just a pinch,
Yeah.
that's enough.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
So as it's cooking, let's get into what needs to be done.
Yes.
What needs to be done?
So what needs to happen
Mhm.
is when you're going through the dry spell,
Mm-hmm.
you need to understand that you are going through.
Mm-hmm.
You're not stopping. You're
Mhm.
going through.
So keep moving.
That's the word, going through.
Mhm.
You have to keep moving.
Don't stop.
Keep walking.
Mm-hmm.
Keep praying.
Mhm.
Don't stop praying. Just pray.
Just pray.
It's prayer. I usually demonstrate a prayer like it's like throwing a stone up.
Mm-hmm.
When you throw it up, it will come down. So when you are bringing your prayers to God,
Yes.
God will bring the answer down. So
Yes.
keep on keeping on, so that
Mhm.
when the answer comes down, it doesn't miss you.
So be ready for it.
It finds you
finds
there.
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So keep praying, keep reading the word.
Reading the
Even
word.
if you're just doing two paragraphs and it's slowing you down, you had this target of reading the Bible in 1 year,
Mhm.
and that dry spell hits you, and you're just reading like a chapter, you're just reading two
Mhm.
paragraphs. Keep doing that.
Mhm.
It's important that you keep doing that. Keep having fellowship.
Yes.
It's important to come together with the other believers, because when you do so, you also get encouraged, and it helps in like shortening that period, because you easily get inspired.
Mhm.
The other thing that you need to do is you need to listen to music
Mhm.
and sing music,
Gospel music.
gospel music.
Yes.
It has a way of refreshing you. It has a way of encouraging you. It has a way of uplifting you. When you bring worship before God, when you continue to sing and worship, the Lord actually, from deep inside you, nourishes you, and the spring of the living waters now start to flow from the inside.
And there is
And then-
something which comes through
Yes,
in all, a consistent thread,
yes,
that is waiting
yes.
on God
In faith, yes. You have to be patient. You have
Mhm.
to wait on God in faith.
Mhm.
And you have to keep the faith.
Mhm.
And when you're keeping moving, you're keeping the faith, and you're still believing God. Like you can say that, like David said, that even though you slay me, I will still praise you.
Mhm.
Habakkuk said, even if there is no cow in the cowshed and there is no milk, I will still praise you.
I will still praise you.
Yeah, Job says that I know my Redeemer liveth, and at the end he will come and save me.
Mhm.
Those are important references that you need to have, so that you can be able to know
Mhm.
that God is with you and he has not left you.
Mhm.
And lastly, you need to also let others pray with you
And
and
uphold
walk
you.
with you and uphold you in prayer.
Wonderful. What an awesome session you had today.
Yeah.
And we actually take cognizance that dry spells are reality of life. Dry spells are reality for the Christian in his or her walk. To demystify it, the dry spell can happen to any one of us, irrespective of your position, your status, it doesn't matter. But having said that, recognizing the symptoms, as it were, of dry spell is important. But again, we've also gone through what needs to be done. And in all this, you are not alone. You've never been alone. Christ has been there, is there, will be there. Any addition that you'd like to possibly add to that?
And just know that this is not a one-time occurrence. It's something that will happen throughout your life journey. But keep your focus on God. Just know that your help is in the name of the Lord. It is God who will come and continue to remove you out of that dry spell period. It's a season that every Christian goes through, and they have overcome, and you will overcome. And just get to know that God has not left you. You are feeling, it's an emotion that you're feeling like God has left you. In fact, his hand is holding you closer, and he just wants to walk with you, even in that moment of silence.
And indeed,
Yes.
keep moving.
Yes.
Keep praying.
Yes.
Keep reading the word.
Yes.
Let others uphold you.
Yes.
Wait patiently on God
In faith.
in faith, and listen
to
gospel music.
It will uphold.
It'll uphold you. Wow. Cook to serve. If there's one thing that we've demonstrated today for men, we've also demystified that we can multitask in the kitchen.
Yes.
We multitask as we cook, we
Yes.
multitask as we converse, we multitask as we also grow and uphold each other. And you out there, thank you so much for your comments, your compliments, the photos that you share. And as we engage in Cook to Serve, beyond just sharing the recipes which we invite, should you have needs that are special to you, reach out to media@nairobibaptist.co.ke. Once again, send an email to media@nairobibaptist.co.ke. Would love to hear from you. And indeed, don't watch alone, watch with somebody else. And this is Cook to Serve from Dr. George's Kitchen.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Wow, and the food is ready. The dry
Yes.
fish, where we discussed the dry spell.
Yes.
Ready, cooked to serve.
Cook to serve.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so now we want to devour the dry fish and just enjoy this wonderful flavor. And so as always, remember, when you're going through the dry spell, you're still a Christian. You've not backslidden. It's something that happens throughout your Christian walk at different time points. And remember that you're never alone.
Never alone.
The Lord has never left you, not forsaken you.
Wonderful.
He's holding you. You're not just feeling it. So keep moving. Move through the dry spell.
Keep praying. Stay in the word.
Yes.
Listen to gospel music.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Let others uphold you in prayer.
And wait on the Lord
Yes.
in faith.
Amen.